This update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Padres took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers this weekend. They start a 3-game series tonight with the Rockies. 6:40 first pitch. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. NFL schedule release. The opener was announced for the 2024 season. It'll be the Chiefs versus the Ravens Thursday night, September 5th. And NBA playoff action tonight. Couple of game fours, Cavs and Celtics, 4 p.m. tip-off time there in Cleveland, with Boston leading that series 2-1. The Mavericks and Thunder tip-off night at 6:30 in game 4, with the Mavericks leading that series 2-1 as well. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today. Oh, nice hat. Must be nice.
Yeah, you should have gone with me. Buy one, get one 50% off.
Oh, must be nice.
Plus the NFL schedule release. All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? Hour 1, Jon and Jim. Good show lined up for you. We're covering, of course, the Padres and the Rockies. In fact, Kyle Newman, Denver Post, will join us at 5:30. Plus, how is Jaden Ledee not in the NBA Combine? We'll talk to Aaron Bergen, who covers college hoops here locally, at 4:30 to talk about Jaden Ledee and what's next for Jaden. I will start here, Jim, as I think said, I don't know if I said here on the wrap-up show. It's like the same thing. But I said if they win this series, not if they beat Tyler Glass now, but if they win this series, I'm all in. And I am. I know they're 22-21. I know they're 5 or 6 games out in the division. I know it's not all perfect, but they've won 4 consecutive series, and it's hard not to be optimistic about them. And I'm kind of putting those things hand in hand. If I'm optimistic, which I am, because I'm watching all these games and I like what I'm seeing from this team, especially this weekend. I mean, taking 2 out of 3 from LA, as hot as they were, it's like the Padres never got the memo that the Dodgers were supposed to win 115 games and spend $1 billion this offseason. The Padres are 5-3 against the Dodgers, but they win this series. They're 22-21. It's not the world's gaudiest record.
No.
But I did say I'd be all in if they won this series. So here we go. 22-21, winter playoff tickets on sale in San Diego, hopefully soon.
Talked about it on Friday at the Naughty Barrel. Screw it. Go out there and win 2 or 3 versus the Dodgers. Go win the series. Don't just think to yourself, this just not get swept. No, go out there and play some good baseball, because you needed to play good baseball at home this year. You have to. If you expect to make the postseason, you're just going to have to play good baseball at home. And frankly, through the first month plus of the year, they have not played good baseball at home. Mm-hmm. And they sure flipped that script this weekend. It was a very clean series by the Padres. It was beautifully pitching by the Padres. That's even a thing. Beautifully
I think
pitching.
Maybe beautifully pitched.
Beautifully pitched.
And beautifully pitching.
Yeah. It was fantastic pitching by the Padres. Let me just say that. Also good pitching by the Dodgers. It was a very close series that reminisced me playoff series.
Okay, let's start these sentences over. That was reminiscent of the playoff series?
Reminiscent of playoff baseball.
Yes, I do agree with that. You said that last night. I completely agree with you that in order to make a run in the postseason, it's likely not with 9-2 wins, but more like 3-2 wins or 4-3 wins. And by the way, I think they're equipped to do it, and there's 2 reasons. They have veteran starting pitching that has been tested before in the postseason. Hopefully we'll see Musgrove back, but someone like Darvish, certainly Dylan Cease, you would think is primed for the opportunity. And then they have an elite closer as well. So when I think about the playoffs, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I'm all in. But I'm all in.
You're all in, John.
But like, there's nothing I've seen so far in the Padres-Dodgers dynamic that leads me to believe that the Padres aren't capable of, like, they've shown me what I need to see in terms of how they perform against top-flight teams. This is not the only good team they've played well against. I think Too Much Morton said it on Twitter last night, or X. They're 12-8 against teams over 500. A, that's a ton of games. B, that's a really good record. So they've been good against good teams. They have good enough starting pitching. Shoot, the last 4 days has been like historically good. They've got as good of a closer as there is in baseball. For whatever reason, they have the Dodgers figured out this year. The year isn't over, but they only play 5 more times, Jim. They go 2-3 from here on out. They win the season series for the first time since 2010. Like, what is there not to like? I mean, there's a lot that isn't going perfectly, but what is there not to like about this team right now?
Well, I would say Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, but they're winning.
I know. But I said the other night, what if those two guys were actually performing well? If everything else was the same, if everything, the Profar, Cronenworth, the pitching, the back end of the bullpen with Robert Suarez, right? If all of those things were the same, but you had better production from Xander and Manny, just imagine how better this team would be. Like,
so give me. Okay, I'll go down that path with you. So they're 22-21.
Yeah.
Let's say Manny was playing like he did in 2022. Where he was MVP.
It's hard for me to think that this team isn't better than what they are right now.
Or even Tatis 2021. He had 28 home runs in the first 70 games or whatever.
I mean, what is that? Maybe 2, 3, 4 more wins?
Probably.
Tops?
Which is a
Maybe.
ton.
Yeah, it's a big amount.
Even 2 wins makes you 24-19. All of a sudden, you're like one of the best teams in the National League at 24-19. Right now, they're a team trending upward towards the top half of the National League. But that's still now, and you and I think we feel the same way. We never quit on Bogey. He homered yesterday. We're
never quitted on Bogey.
But like, don't you feel, or do you not, that 1, 2, or 3 of those players will have a 30 or 60-day stretch where they perform like they've performed before? So I'm not saying all 3 go off for 120 games. I'm saying, will 1 or 2 or 3 of those players have a 30 or 60 game stretch where they look like the players that they should look like?
I hope so.
I would think it happens.
I would think it happens, but does it happen in a meaningful moment of the year is my question. Because Xander had that moment in September. It wasn't very meaningful.
Sure. Yeah.
Manny, he did get hot at some point last year, but it wasn't a sustained stretch. It wasn't a stretch of like 2 months where it's like, man, Manny is just carrying this team right now. He had his moments, but overall it was just a kind of average year for Manny standards, really. So with everything they're doing right now, and they played a really clean series versus the Dodgers. They scored 6 runs. Dodgers scored 6 runs. And guess what? The Padres won 2 of 3. Crazy to think about. Especially after getting shut out on Saturday.
Right.
You're like, oh, you scored 6 runs in a series versus the Dodgers, and you won 2 of those 3 games. If you told me that before the series happened, I'd be like, man, they had some really good pitching then.
And they did.
They did. And it's very easy to think if Xander and Manny, who both are in some big, like, struggle parts of their season. What is it? 1 for his last 18, Manny, and I think maybe 1 for his last 17 in Xander.
No, now you're just making this up. So Bogaerts was 0 for 18 before he came through with a hit yesterday, but finished 2 of 4.
Wow,
but he snapped it 0 for 18 in the game.
Right.
So he wasn't 1 for 17. He was 0 for 18.
Well, now he was. Now he's 1 for 18, 1 for 19.
Yeah,
whatever.
Maybe.
Basically, what I'm saying is those guys are struggling.
Okay.
Those guys are struggling. And with those guys struggling to have played really good baseball for the last couple weeks here,
right,
since their 5-game losing streak, is a testament to everybody else on that roster. Just imagine if those 2 guys were actually performing where this team could be right now, or where this team could go.
You're right. You're right. But I'm going to look at it the other way. I'm going to prefer to look at it like this, that despite everything we've talked about, all the critiques that fans have provided, we have as well on Jon and Jim of the Wrap-Up Show, despite that, they are good enough right now. Now, that means there's room to grow.
Yeah.
They're not as good as they're capable of being, in my opinion, because of everything we're illustrating. And 22-21, I mean, again, you're not going to start coming up with the parade route, even though Dodger fans did.
The Dodgers will do their own parades.
They'll do their own. Right. Their first parade since 88 was in San Diego, of all places, with 200 people. Really fascinating.
And they watched their team lose 2 of 3.
But so we're not at that point. And again, everything is always contingent and hinges on the next series. You can give it all back if you don't play well against the Colorado Rockies. But how can you not be? And I guess I would just say that 70470 started with team, or 877-767-4760. I cannot be optimistic about this team. They've dealt with adversity. They've changed a lot from the team a year ago, and it's almost like they've come out on the other end better. And again, we don't know how it's all going to shape out. You said it last night, and I agree with you. Like, there's no real comparison between these 2 teams, even though records are comparable. They're 22-21. Last year, they were 20-23. That's not a huge difference, but I feel way better about this team than I did about last year's team at this time.
I think this team is playing better than last year's team. And you can also say, I don't think this team is as talented as last year's team. I think you can make the argument if you wanted to, but on paper going in, it's kind of not, there's not really an argument there for me. They're just playing so far this year up to this point after their 5-game losing streak. They're playing better as a team. They have pieces that fit better. They might not be the best players, but they're playing above their potential right now. If Jurickson and Jake and Campusano and Jackson Merrill don't perform like they have this year so far, this team is probably not where they're at.
Oh, no doubt.
Because
completely.
You're not having the stars give them what they expected to get from their stars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about that. We went into this season, John, saying the stars are everything. If the stars don't perform, it's hard to see them winning. Well, guess what? The stars aren't performing, and they're winning, and they're playing really good baseball. And they just took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, and they've outplayed the Dodgers in pretty much every single game they played against each other this year. Think about that.
Other than
LA. Really one in LA. They have played better than the Dodgers every single time they faced them. The Padres, what was the record of first winning teams? 12-9?
I think it's 12-8.
12-8
games.
So they have played good baseball against the good teams. Now, with the Rockies coming in town, you cannot slip up. You just played some of your best baseball this weekend, and you have a team that comes in here that just swept the Rangers, so they're maybe a little hot. You cannot slip up versus the Rockies.
Developing news. Ha-Seong Kim gets hit yesterday. He is in the lineup today.
Man, that's great news.
So Ha-Seong Kim avoided a break. They had the x-rays, said he was feeling better even last night after the game. They said they would check on it. Ha-Seong Kim is in the lineup for Randy Vasquez, who will start and bat 9th here tonight. Ha-Seong Kim in the lineup because there's all these questions. Well, if Kim's going to be out, and maybe he's out for more than a day, what do you do with Xander Bogaerts? And are Bogaerts struggles attached to his position? That's kind of like how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll Center for Tootsie Pop? We don't really know if he's struggling. Right, we don't even know that. But you got the 8-team lineup here, the Arises and the Tatis and the Cronies and the Mannies. I mean, you got Kimmy. And you've won 8 of 11, and the Rockies are here. And your point is right. They just swept the Texas Rangers, who won the World Series. But they're also, what did I find today? Whomever they're pitching today has been awful. I mean, just flat out.
Hudson?
Horrific. Dakota Hudson has walked more batters than he has struck out this year. The Padres tattooed him in Denver earlier this year. To your point, just got to win this series.
All of the good will and everything that you have built since your 5-game losing streak, you don't want to have the slip up happen versus the Rockies at home. You just don't, because you go on the road this weekend versus Atlanta, and then you have Cincinnati. Cincinnati's kind of fallen off a cliff, but still on the road. Anything can happen. They're actually a pretty good road team, so you feel kind of good about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you come home for my wedding weekend, you face the Yankees, and you face the Marlins to finish off the month. You have a real opportunity if you continue. I mean, you have a real good opportunity here, John, to at the end of this month, look up and be like, all right, that month changed the course of our season.
Right. So they're 8-3 in their last 11, but they're 7-3 this month. They have 17 games remaining this month. We said, you go 10-7, you do have the Rockies in there. I mean, maybe you can win 2 or 3 here. You go 10-7, and all of a sudden you've put together a 17-10 month, which by all team standards is an outstanding month. And by Padres' recent standards, going all the way back to last year, the second half of 2022. Yeah. The last time they were 6-7 games over 500 in a real month, because last September doesn't count. The last time, like a meaningful month, you're going back a while. You're going back a couple of years where it mattered and the Padres played good baseball. Hopefully they do that this May.
What did you let's just get right into it. Screw it.
Yeah.
What did you think of the parade on Saturday?
You want to talk parade?
I mean, look, we might as well get out of the way now.
I don't have a lot of strong opinions on the parade. We're talking about the Dodger fan parade throughout downtown San Diego before the game. I mean, I think
the what?
There was you missed this, Brent? There was a Dodger fan parade. He's got Facebook. It was on there. They like a couple hundred people. They didn't call it a parade. They marched. A couple hundred Dodger fans marched downtown before Game 2 of the series.
That to me it felt kind of like, and not to the extent because the Padres did it themselves to themselves with the Kershaw meme.
Is it like that's what's
But
in?
when you no, it's not like that's what's good. And those things only work if you like win the series or win game. Like you can't have your team lose series when you do that. Now they did win that night, so that's okay.
Well,
but
what fan base does that anyway?
I don't know.
Is that a thing? Like, okay, for example, let's even go to the NFL, which is a much bigger. If the Niners played the Cowboys in Dallas, are Niner fans parading down the streets of Texas before the football game? No. So there's 162 baseball games, and the Dodgers are the supposed, they've won 10 straight divisions. I'm making it up, and they've won season series against the Padres since 2010. Why are you marching in San Diego? What are you doing? I don't understand the significance or purpose of it.
Well, Niners fans do fill up.
But they don't do parades before games.
Maybe they do. I don't know what they do. I don't know.
Do they? You don't know as a Niners fan if Niner fans parade throughout visiting cities? They don't.
No. Yeah, I can't remember a Niners contingent.
I can't remember an NFL fan base
through downtown Dallas or wherever.
No.
Or downtown LA.
I don't even understand what it was. Was there a purpose to this? Was it like the San Diego fan club of Dodger fans? Is that what it was?
I don't know what it was, but they were holding signs. It was like a parade or a march or whatever you want to call it. And, the crowd there this weekend, there were a lot of Dodger fans, as expected, maybe more than expected. And they ended up having the most fans ever in that ballpark on Saturday night, 46,000 plus, which is crazy.
Most ever for a 3-game series.
Most ever.
Yep.
And it's a good feeling if you're a Padres fan today, knowing that every single Dodger fan that came down to watch their team more than likely watched the loss. Because
right, 2 out of every 3, yeah.
Because you won the series and you played really good baseball. And you're not getting pushed around. You're not getting, manhandled by the Dodgers right here. You've played them not only straight up, but better than them this year.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I felt yesterday was a game that we've seen over the years that the Dodgers do to the Padres, which is when you lean on your opponent, you score a couple of early runs like the Padres did in the first, then you get good starting pitching, then you add on with a run, and then all of a sudden, like, man, this is gonna be tough. And all of a sudden, you look up, Darvish hasn't allowed a hit. It's 4 2/3 innings. Then he does, but he gets out of a spot, and then later Bogarts homers, and then you turn to your elite closer. And the Dodgers had a chance, but they squandered it, I think, in the 8th inning with Freddie Freeman. It felt to me yesterday like the Padres leaned on the Dodgers, and the Dodgers really didn't have any type of punch back in any regard. Now, it's one game.
Yeah.
It's one game, and it's one series. But I do know this. In 3 series this year, the Dodgers have won 0 against the Padres. There was a split. There was a Padres series win at Dodger Stadium. There was a Padres series win this past weekend. They have one more 2-game series here in July. They have a 3-game series at Dodger Stadium. I don't know if the Dodgers will look like this in July. Here's my guess. Dodgers completely go even further all in July, and they add to their roster because why wouldn't they? Because if they don't win the World Series, it's an utter disappointment. But it's like, again, like I said earlier, Padres didn't get the memo that they need to roll over against the Dodgers. Not that they've been better than them as a team, but head-to-head, they've been just as good, if not better, based on the record.
That's a good sign. It's only going to matter, though, if you play still good baseball versus
I agree.
the crappier teams in baseball. Because if you slip up versus the Rockies, or you have slip-ups versus, the Marlins or whatever other bad team in baseball, the Pirates, right? Playing good baseball against the Dodgers is going to cancel itself out. And so that's why this series is so important versus the Rockies, because you can't have this series cancel out everything that you did this past weekend versus the Dodgers. You lose this past series versus the Dodgers won't mean as much because you end up having a 3-3 homestand. That's kind of with who they're playing this week, because that's unacceptable. It really is.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing. I mean, they squandered an opportunity against the Rockies to get themselves into this quote-unquote mess. The 5-game losing streak was because of a squandered opportunity in Colorado. Don't let it happen again. Like, hopefully they've learned that lesson. That series has to be won, the one in Denver, that they won 3 out of 4 in, but they didn't. I mean, they led 9-4 in the 8th inning, and they didn't hold the lead. They lost the game, but they were in a position to win 3 or 4 in that series. And I never go into a series thinking you have to sweep a series, but I am going into this series saying you have to win this series. Again, is the season on the line? Obviously not. But if you want them to reach their ultimate trajectory, then they got to win series against teams like the Colorado Rockies, specifically at home.
Yeah.
All right, on the other side, I think Mike Shilt's done an amazing job so far with this team, a really good job. But there's one thing he has spoken on that he hasn't acted on. Do the Padres and do Mike Shildt, and does Mike Shildt need to act on something that played out yesterday at Petco Park between the Padres and the Dodgers? Plus, really good guests lined up today, including Kyle Newman from the Denver Post will join us as we get closer to Game 1 between the Padres and the Rockies tonight at Petco Park at 6:40. We're just underway. Don't go anywhere. With you until 6 p.m. on Jon and Jim. All right, Schulte keeps talking about something, but they haven't done anything about it yet. That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Padres coming off a series win versus the Dodgers this weekend. Start a 3-game series versus the Rockies tonight at Petco Park, 6:40. First pitch, Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. NBA action later tonight. Celtics Cavaliers tip off at 4 p.m. in Cleveland. Game 4 of that series with the Celtics leading 2-1. And then the Mavericks in Game 4 take on the Thunder. 6:30 p.m. tip-off time there. Mavericks lead that series 2-1 as well. And the NFL schedule release, the opener has been announced. The 2024-2025 NFL season. It'll be the Chiefs taking on the Ravens on Thursday night, September 5th. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
So this is getting pitched to, and all the fastballs that have been up and in on Tatis as he spins out of the way or bends over backwards or ends up on his backside. This was Schilt 10 days ago. All you're doing is pissing the guy off, and it's uncalled for. And it's not something we're going to tolerate much longer. So fast forward, it's continued, and it continued yesterday in a win where both Ha-Seong Kim and Fernando Tatis Jr. were plunked by different pitchers in, I think at the time, a 2 or 3-0 game. Padres, of course, would win the game and win the series. They did not retaliate in the game. They really haven't done much retaliating at all in terms of guys getting pitched, in or third, or guys getting plunked so far this year, specifically Fernando Tatis Jr. in the way he's been pitched too. So what do you think, Jim? I mean, do you have to do something about this, or do you talk with your performances, which is what the Padres have done here recently in winning 8 of their last 11?
So a couple things here. In yesterday's game, in the moment that this happened, I was listening to the radio, and I wasn't watching it in real time. But what it sounded like with Yarbrough, the Dodgers reliever, on a 3-1 count, kind of clearly pitching around Tatis, that, hey, I'm just going to plunk him. Because he hit a home run in the beginning of the game, and, it wasn't a headshot, but still, it seemed to piss off Mike Schilt. Mike Schilt, I guess, was very upset and animated in that dugout. And hearing that quote there, you think to yourself, all right, as I put on Twitter, time to match words with actions. And then you realize, all right, you probably can't do that here in this moment because, one, Yu Darvish had a perfect game going on at the time.
At the time, yep.
You needed to win that game. It wasn't like a 10-0 blowout. If it's a 10-0 blowout, pretty much all hands are all, you're doing something. But you need to win that game. It was a close game. Unless that game got out of hand, you're not doing anything. So I understand that. But the next time they face the Dodgers, they're going to have to do something. Because if they do not, then it makes those words and Mike Schilt kind of come off as soft, in my opinion. You cannot say those things, and then it happens again, and it kind of, you can view it as, it was on purpose if you want to view it from that lens, and it kind of seems like Mike Schilt was because he was very upset in the dugout, and then not do anything after.
I see it two ways. I mean, to play contrarian, it's like you're playing well against the Dodgers. Don't go wake a sleeping giant. Don't go give them any additional reasons to do anything different against you. I'm not saying it's Kershaw meme, but you go out there and hit Freddie Freeman, and I understand what's fair is fair.
Yeah.
Eye for an eye. I do understand it, but you're 5-3 against the Dodgers. You don't play them again for 2 months. Actually, just over, I think.
July.
2 months. So, my first order of business in July, well, who the hell knows what it is? I could be 2 games out of a playoff spot. I could be 2 games up, and so on and so forth. And who knows where the Dodgers are as well. So, my first concern isn't that, to your point, maybe end up in a 9-0 game either way, and you do it just to do it because you feel as if you kind of have to. But I wouldn't go into that 2-game series thinking I have to. What I'm thinking about in that 2-game series is thinking I need to do what I've done against the Dodgers this year.
Well, of course, that's always the first thing you think about. I need to go in. I need to play good baseball. I need to win games, regardless of who we're playing, even if it's the Dodgers,
sure, Rockies,
whatever. We need to win baseball games. We need to play good baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, why I feel like this kind of has to be done here is because of what Mike Schultz said. I don't think I would be saying what I'm saying right now if Mike Schilt didn't say those things.
Right. You're saying you got to have some teeth. Like your words have no meaning if you don't back them up with action.
100%. And you can't be pushed around like you said yesterday, which is a very good point. The second that game started and you had the back-to-back home runs from Cronenworth or Tatis and Cronenworth, the Padres were just leaning on the Dodgers the entire day with good pitching and
couple timely hits,
home runs, really good back-end relief. Wandy Peralta, Robert Suarez, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of had your way yesterday. It wasn't like you won 12-0.
No, but it didn't feel as if the outcome was really in doubt.
Right. And so you cannot let any team, especially the Dodgers, do this and get away with it if you are going to say those words. If Mike Schilt never said that, if he never said, what was the quote basically of like,
we're not going to allow, we're not going to allow this to happen for much more time.
Right.
And he wasn't talking about a Dodgers series, to be clear.
He was talking about just in general. But again, you face the Dodgers again. I don't know if you don't face the Brewers again, do you? Maybe once?
They've been to Milwaukee. Have they come here?
They come in next month on the 21st.
Okay, so you still face
I forget. Maybe was that against the Brewers? I don't remember. Anyway, whatever team it was against, doesn't matter. The point is, you say those words.
May 3rd.
Okay.
They just played the Reds, and then it was game 1 against the Diamondbacks. Was May 3rd? I don't know if it was the Reds or the Diamondbacks.
Maybe it was Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
But Schilt was talking in general, everybody.
Sure.
He wasn't just specifically talking about that specific team that maybe threw high and tight to Tatis. Everybody is on notice. You guys throw at Tatis or hit him again.
But they may not have gotten they might not have heard.
Well, then guess what? Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, and I agree. What you're saying in general is definitely the old school kind of way of the sport. There's no question about that. Now, here's what's changed in the sport. You might say, well, why isn't it done as much anymore? Because 5 years ago, pitchers hit and they don't. There's not the same recourse. Like, pitchers could do whatever the hell they want because, I mean, they really can. They're not in the batter's box in the National League. And I don't know, some of that unwritten stuff, you hit us, we'll hit you. I mean, some of it is still based in the game, based on the manager. And Schilt is definitely an old school manager, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't know. To your point, if they really had an issue with Fernando Tatis Jr. and the way he's being pitched, forget about yesterday. They should have done something well sooner. This has been going on for a long period of time. There have not been 1 or 2 instances of either Tatis getting hit or pitched high and tight. There are numerous instances of it over the course of 7 weeks or something at this point. So if they wanted to do something about it, they could have. Are they waiting for that perfect moment? Man, we need Max Muncy in the box. Got to have a 7-0 lead. It's got to be the 8th inning or later, and then we're going to hit him in the head.
No.
And that's obviously not, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. No. Truthfully, I think that's stupid and serves no purpose. But I'm with you. I mean, if Tatis is just being thrown at and you have to have some level of recourse. And to this point, they've just spoken on it, not acted on it.
I'm not advocating to go out there and just headhunt or go out there and just hit guys to hit guys.
Right.
I'm advocating for it because I'm just reading what, you know, said. And listening to what Schilt said.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my opinion here is you have to retaliate. If Schilt never said those words, we're probably not even talking about this today, honestly. Like, I'm not even mentioning that Tatis got hit on a 3-1 pitch when they're pitching around him by a reliever late in the game. Probably not mentioning it. Maybe,
right. Maybe, depending on what happened.
We're not dedicating part of our show to it today, but we are, because Mike Schilt has shown that when Tatis gets thrown high and tight or gets hit, they're not going to stand for it anymore.
Well, I guess my point is this. Here would be my last point on it. And by the way, like, again, if it's not just the Dodgers, if all 29 teams are on notice, then go hit Charlie Blackmon first batter of the game. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think it serves absolutely no purpose. I don't know what point you're proving. Here's the other thing. Let's say the Dodgers are back here in July and you hit Freddie Freeman or you hit Shohei Ohtani. You hit him. That doesn't stop them from hitting Tatis, either in that game or in another game. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. And like, it stops nothing. You may think it does, like on your side, you may think you've done something until they perceive it to be different than the way you perceive it.
And you know, each team is different. And you're not going into this Rockies series like we need to stand in for Tatis. The Rockies like, what did I do?
Right,
what do
exactly.
we do? You take things from certain teams and you put them in your back pocket. Like this past
But
weekend.
there's like 4 teams that have like thrown high and tight.
Well, they probably have a full back pocket then.
Exactly. Rockies might be one of them.
Maybe they are one of them. I don't know. And maybe if that did happen tonight, maybe Mike Schultz said, look, we just, things have happened in the past and we weren't going to take it anymore. I don't know. I'm just saying from a situation that happened yesterday that listening on the radio seemed like it was kind of out of the norm, and then seeing Schultz again get upset in the dugout, and then going back to what he said previously about, hey, if any team throws it Tatis again, we're not going to take it anymore.
Right. And that happens.
Yeah. What happens? Tatis got thrown at again in a moment that, I don't think the Dodgers are sitting there like, we're going to hit Tatis. But at the same time, if you are going to say those things, you got to back up those words with action. Because if you don't, you just come off as soft, in my opinion. You come off as all talk is what I'm saying.
70470 started with team. What do you think? Do the Padres need to retaliate the next time they take on the Dodgers because Tatis was hit yesterday?
And maybe the best course that they can do is win. And if that's it, then that's great because they win.
Way better.
That's way better. It is. And maybe that is that could happen. I just think, you got to match your words with actions at some point, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened at some point. The season is long, and I'd actually be surprised if it didn't happen at some point because the season is so long. What do you guys think? 70470, start it with team. We'll get to Is That Good? The best and worst of the sports weekend on the other side. Aaron Burgeon, full-time hoops, will join us at 4:30 on the Jaden Ledee Combine snub. Plus at 5:30, Kyle Newman will join the show from the Denver Post to get us ready for the series. Stay with us. All right, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend that comes your way next. With you, 760 has chances for you to win bonus bucks. You up $1,000 every day this week. Listen for the keyword and enter it at sportssc.com. Kyle Newman, Denver Post on the Rockies sweep of the Rangers in this 3-game series. He will join us coming up at 5:30. We'll tell you about our other guests at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock hour as well. But right now, let's get to this.
So the Knicks and Timberwolves went into this weekend with both 2-0 series leads.
Then what happened?
Now the series are tied.
Oh.
The Knicks lost by 32 to the Pacers the other day, and the Nuggets beat the Timberwolves 115-107. I put the Jim Russell jinx on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, Timberwolves are done because now the Nuggets have 2 of the last 3 at home.
Correct. And I said the Timberwolves are my favorites to win the NBA title now.
So did Alan Sliwa.
I know. Well, Alan's smarter than me, so.
Right.
But is that good, Brent?
What's really the question?
No, it's not good. Are you kidding me?
2-0 lead.
Yeah, both of them had 2-0 series leads. And now the series are tied 2-2.
And it's way worse on the T-Wolves because
the
T-Wolves were heading home.
And the Knicks lost by over 30.
Yeah, it wasn't good. They were.
Well,
they were like 40 at one point.
That T-Wolves game, they were down by almost 32. It was the end score was way closer than what the game actually was.
Right.
All right, we'll talk more about this coming up at 4:30 with Aaron Bergen, who works at Full Time Hoops. He's a San Diegan, covers San Diego hoops. But Jaden Ledee this week, and I watched a lot of this. Of course I did.
Of course you did.
He shot 50% from the floor in the G League Combine. Now, he scored 11.6 rebounds. You say, well, those aren't crazy numbers. Yeah, but he played 15 minutes a game. So he was ultra productive in those 15 minutes. 11.6 rebounds, playing just 15 minutes per game this weekend in the G League Invite Camp. Is that good?
It is good!
It's really good, but then they call up players, and there's no limit on how many players they can call up. They could have called up 10. They could have called up 5. They called up 5, but didn't call up Jaden Ledee for whatever reason.
Jackson Merrill, John, became the youngest player in Padres franchise history to record 3+ hits and 2+ steals in a game. Is that good, Brent?
It is
Dude, he's the youngest player to. Oh, he had 3 donuts yesterday. He's the youngest Padre ever to have 3 donuts. Oh, he had a single. He's the youngest Padre to ever have a single because he's still what? Well, he's 21.
You know who the youngest player was before that to
Toddy.
accomplish that feat?
Toddy.
Nope. Roberto Alomar.
Wow.
He had 3 hits and 3 stolen bases when he was 21 years old versus the Philadelphia Phillies in 1989.
Incredible. I don't remember that game. Believe it
I
or
don't
not.
either because I was born, but I was only like 6 months old.
And you don't remember it.
I don't remember.
All right. How about this NFL news? Jared Goff and the Lions have agreed to a 4-year, $212 million extension. Brent, what do you think? Is that good? I don't know who it's good. It's good for Jared Goff.
I need to get button.
I agree. Man, to be a quarterback in the NFL. No, he had a great year. They had a great year.
What's the guarantee on that?
It was only like 180 of the 212 or something.
Only 180.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy money.
Well, the Lions have that opportunity because a lot of their star players are all on like their rookie deals.
170 of the 212 guaranteed.
Wow.
And if you're the Lions and you've been so bad for so long, you're gonna
kinda
try
have
and
to.
lock up everybody just to keep it going for as long as you can.
And Jared's a consistent quarterback. He's a guy that, you know, isn't going to make too many mistakes, but he's also not going to be that like flashy guy. He just gets the ball to his playmakers because they have a ton of them.
Yep.
And, you know,
No, he's been really
they can
productive.
win 10 games a year.
He's been really good the last 2 years. They're banking on that continuing, obviously, for the next 3 or 4.
Right. John, you tweeted this out yesterday, and I'm stealing it from you. The Padres starters have had 4 consecutive starts, allowing 2 or fewer hits across 5+ innings pitched. This is the first time this to happen in the major leagues since 1893. Is that good?
So, right, since at least 1893, which means they don't have the box scores to confirm whether it happened before then or not. Now, I feel like that Cleveland Spider team in 1893 may have done it because they had a very good rotation. But that's bonkers. And think about that, folks. 4 consecutive games. Starters have gone 5 or more innings, allowing 2 or fewer hits, and nobody's done it in over a century.
That's crazy.
You're really looking at maybe a century and a half. Who knows if it's ever been done in the history of baseball?
So who was it? We had
you had King in there. You had
Waldron, Darvish,
and
Cease.
That's right. Now Randy Vasquez. Can he do it today to complete the rotation?
Yeah, can we do it today? Do it.
All right, here's my final one. Xander Bogaerts yesterday snapping an 0 for 18, not with 1 hit, but 2, but he also homered yesterday. Remember, he told Kevin Acee last week, all it takes is 1 swing. So now that he snapped out of it, is that good, Brent? Is it a day or more for Xander Bogaerts? We'll find out.
He changed his bat to try to help his bat speed because bat speed is very important in baseball.
He's using a very popularized bat.
Jim fact.
It's very important, but he's using a very popular bat now. I think it's an axe bat.
Yeah.
Which, for whatever reason, is kind of the nouveau thing to do. And even if some of it is mental, even if you think it's more appealing, if you think if it has some hits in it, then switch your bats.
When I was reading that, I just saw axe, and I was like, wait,
he's going to use an axe now at the plate?
He's just gone full off the rails here. I'm not going to use a baseball bat. I'm just going to use an axe.
His bat smells like vanilla cream.
He just snaps the balls in half.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right, we're going to get to the wrap on the other side. Aaron Burgeon, full-time hoops on Jaden Ledee's snub. Rocco Miller, earliest bracketologist ever in the history of the show. He's not coming on because he's a bracketologist. He's coming on because he has new information to share on the NIL tournament in Vegas. So he will join us to talk about that at 5 p.m. Then Kyle Newman from the Denver Post will get us ready for Padres and Rockies at 5:30. But hour 2 of Jon and Jim will kick it off next.
All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy. Padres coming off a series win versus the Dodgers. Start a 3-game series tonight with the Colorado Rockies. 6:40 first pitch. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres tonight. Couple playoff games in the NBA happening. Game 4s between the Cavs and the Celtics. Donovan Mitchell has been ruled out of that game for the Cavaliers. Cavs trailed that series 2-1. Tip-off time in moments from Cleveland. And Mavericks Thunder tip-off at 6:30 tonight in Dallas, with the Mavericks leading that series 2-1. The NFL schedule released the opener for the 2024-2025 season. It'll be the Chiefs taking on the Ravens Thursday night, September 5th. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2, Jon and Jim with you until 6 p.m. We've got some really good guests lined up for you over the next 2 hours. Plus, we are inching closer to Jim's wedding. I drove to IB this weekend because I figured if I'm going to officiate the wedding, I should talk to Jim and Aaron about officiating their wedding.
Correct.
But I ended up doing really nothing. I just went there, and then Aaron wrote out like a script,
Like
which
she
is
has
awesome.
done for everything for the wedding.
We watched Braves Mets randomly on Fox. There was a no-hitter until 2 outs in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
We then ended up going to Novo, a kombucha, or
In IB.
in IB, which is terrific.
The Novo is right down the street from my house. You bought hats, which you're wearing right now.
I bought hats.
Which is a really cool
I
black
did.
San Diego State hat from Billions Creations
Yeah.
down in IB.
Black on black. I got recognized there for the wrap-up show, but Jim bailed.
Nice.
So
You brought me donuts.
Oh
from
yeah. So here's what I
Sidecar.
did. Listen to this, Brian. So I'm like, oh, I'll pick up lunch. But then I was like out. It was like 10 in the morning. I'm not picking up lunch. And by the time I get there, it was
You'll
gonna
be
be like 1 or 2
sitting
in the
there,
afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll just pick up donuts. And I went to a really nice donut spot. This place, Sidecar.
So
It's like-
good.
I don't even know. It's like designer donuts, right?
Yeah.
And I picked up 4 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why. I'm like, well, if there's any left over, we could give them to Brent. Spoiler alert.
There's none left
There's
over.
none left over.
I
But
figured
then
that.
after I got him, I'm like, oh, like Aaron is like not trying to eat donuts probably 2 weeks before a wedding.
She's in full diet mode. Yeah.
So I texted Jim, like, yo, I picked up donuts. Is that a bad idea? And he's like, yeah, Aaron's going to kill you. So then I felt really bad. So then I stopped and got him a bottle of wine, basically to cancel out the donuts
yeah.
to give Aaron wine.
Did you like pick these donuts out, or did you just say
I picked him out.
You say give me
I
4
picked
donuts?
them out. They had like probably 10 or 12. They have like 10 or 12 available per day.
Good job.
And you should have seen these donuts, Brent. I'll pick them up another time. Seriously. What did you? He ended up eating 4 donuts. Jackson Merrill yesterday told the media, he told Marty, I had 3 donuts before the game and I had 3 hits. I'm like, Jim had 4 donuts the day before. He did nothing.
I did absolutely nothing.
So what donuts did you eat?
So, well, all of them.
I know, but what were they? One was ridiculous. There was this huge like cookie dough on the donut.
So the first one was just a regular glazed donut, but the quality of the donuts were next level. You could tell
right.
that these were some
Made that
fancy
day.
types of
Yeah.
donuts, right? And what are you doing here?
Wait, where am I?
I don't know. What are you doing?
Am
Okay. Anyway,
you still here?
YouTube problems.
Yeah.
And then you got this glazed maple sprinkle donut.
Ooh, how was that?
That was fantastic. And then you got a glaze like cake donut,
Yes,
which
I
is
remember that one.
really
Yep.
good. And then the best one by far
Was what?
was the glaze chocolate marble donut with raw cookie dough that you could eat. I don't think it was like actually raw. It was like like you would eat the cookie
It
dough.
was
and be
like a
fine.
scoop.
Like a
dude.
Well, it wasn't cooked cookie dough because then it would be a cookie.
True. It
Correct.
wasn't. But this was like how much like It was almost like, an
was a
ice cream scooper,
Yeah.
like a scooper from an ice cream scoop.
It wasn't a big scoop. It was like
No,
a
but
medium,
it was like
it's a medium
a
size.
decent amount of cookie dough.
And there was chocolate chip cookie dough on top of this donut with like chocolate drizzling on top of it.
So I didn't have a bite because I just don't eat donuts. But I figured Aaron wasn't going to, but Aaron ended up having a bite, right?
She had the bite of the chocolate cookie dough.
How mad was she that I brought them by?
She's like, tell John I hate him.
Yes, but as she's eating it, right?
Because she ate it and her whole demeanor was, oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever eaten. Because she's been
after the wedding. No, I'm serious. I'll pick him up. Brent, you're going to lose your mind.
They're so good.
I do feel like Brent's going to lose his mind.
Because she's been amazing. She is, diet, like she's getting like full on wedding mode. And
What's
she's
the place
also
called?
planning the wedding too.
Sidecar.
So she's doing a lot. And when she has her mindset on something, she just like go just straight ahead. She doesn't.
So real quick,
veer
so
off.
give me her regimen right now. Not diet, but like, is she like running every day? Is she working out? Is it all diet? Is it all exercise? Is it a combination of both? Is she tanning? Is she like, everyone does it differently.
Yeah, it's a combination of everything.
What I've noticed with you is, for example, you have Fritos. You had 4 donuts on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you've had Fritos this afternoon along with the Coca-Cola.
Yeah. I had a
Nothing
protein bar.
Nothing like, hey, the doctor's like, hey, too much soda, kidney stone, wedding.
Yeah, well, I got water, a Coke, Fritos, and a protein bar over here.
Meanwhile, Aaron is eating like 4 ounces of salmon on top of greens for the day.
But like I said, when we have dinner at night and we have the food in the house, it's all like healthy food.
No, that's good.
So we have like turkey bowls, we have salmon, we have cod, we have ground beef. Like,
no, it's good.
We keep it pretty good.
So you're not splitting Skittles yet.
So. No. I'm not eating like burgers every night and she's eating turkey bowls.
Right.
Like we're both eating the same food. But yeah, she's just on she's not like going super strict. She's just like normal. Like she's working out, she's getting ready, and yeah, she'll be tanning for the wedding and everything, and she'll be ready to go. And so
here's my question. That's great. And we'll get to the wrap in a moment.
You
No, it is
asked
great.
me.
It is great. No, but here's my question. So they were telling me when I was at their place on Saturday, like, oh, we have to write our vows or we're writing our vows.
Yeah.
Which that alone is interesting because I've never seen Jim write anything. So like the idea that Jim is writing vows, and then he just told us that it's like 2.5 minutes when spoken out.
Here, look.
Look at wow.
Yeah.
I don't even think I wrote vows. I don't recall doing vows.
I'm telling you, for a lot of people that are coming to this wedding, Brent, Darren,
Me,
like Darnay, like
Darnay,
everybody knows me pretty well.
Yeah.
They're gonna be listening to some things that like I'm gonna be like, wait, whoa, what?
Yeah, are you going to be breaking out like Shakespearean stuff like hath thy moon
No.
sliver in the light of dayside bonding? Like, wait, what?
No.
Or is this all Chat GPT?
No, this is all 100% Jim GPT.
Okay. Wow.
This is 100%.
It's going to be like, Aaron, you're pretty cool and stuff. All those other girls suck. You're great.
It's funny because one of the things we tell each other a lot is like, I love you and stuff. Just like, it's just like a totally.
You say I love you and stuff?
Like, do you love me and stuff? Like, yeah, I love you and stuff.
Are you going to say in the vows?
I'm not going to put that in the vows, no.
Can we record the vows so we can play them the next day on Jon and Jim?
Well, here's the thing, John. There will be a videographer there.
So yes.
Yes, they will be recording the vows.
All right. Coming up at 4:30.
Is 2.5 minutes okay? Because
70470 start with team. I have no idea. You told me Aaron's are pushing 4 minutes.
Hers are like around 3:40ish. And
mine are
mine are about 2:30.
Yeah, are you gonna race through it though?
That's the thing. I was practicing them today, and I was reading them like very slow.
You're gonna be so much faster.
I know.
I'm gonna tell honestly. I will give you a cue if you're going too fast. I'm serious, because I can see you. If you're going too fast, I'm gonna on my right ear.
Like Aaron, I love
I'm
you.
Gonna be like Tim,
so
I'm
much.
I'm gonna be like Tim Leeper. I'm gonna be doing like baseball signs.
You're like doing this, like, hey, slow it down.
Hey,
bunt sign.
I'm more nervous for this wedding than anyone is. All right, Aaron Bergen, full-time hoops, covers all things San Diego hoops. He'll join us at 4:30. Jane Ledee snubbed from the NBA Combine. What does it mean for his NBA prospects of getting to the NBA this fall? What are you laughing at?
Callan on our YouTube chat just said, Jim, just read them like you read the top of the hour updates. ...
God.
If I read them like the top of the hour updates, it will be a disaster.
I might want to memorize them.
So unlike the top of the hour updates, I will be practicing my vows every single day until the wedding.
You're going to need to.
I know.
Seriously.
I know.
All right, let's get to it.
Is this a must-win series for the Padres against the Rockies?
Must win.
Look, if they lose the series,
Have
they're
we ever
not
phrased something like that?
the season's not over. But guess what? If they do lose the series, you kind of wipe away everything you did well against the Dodgers this weekend, in my mind. And you go on a road trip here through Atlanta for 4-3 in Cincinnati.
Right.
It's a got to win series for the Padres. Gots to win series.
Well, if they're the team we think they are, like they are who we thought they were,
Let them off the hook.
like if I'm truly all in on the Padres, the first order of business for the Padres should not be to lose a home series to the Rockies. So I'm not asking for perfection. 2 out of 3 is very reasonable here, and they're more than capable. Shoot, they're capable of sweeping the series. Let's hope they win today and then at least win the series and take 2 out of 3. Of course, it's not must win to your point. If you lose it, let's say you lose 2 of 3, you're 500 to the road. You win 2 out of 3, you're 2 games over 500 heading to the road. So they're all important series. This is one of those series because you haven't been good at home. Just go win it. Next question.
Will Jaden Ledee get drafted?
That's a very good question.
I mean, you would think he would. He's All-American. He's a guy that is a rebounding machine. He has a body type like an NBA player. But you have told me, and it's a good point, NBA teams are sticklers for age. And if you are not 20, 21, 22 tops, like that's just going to be used against you, unfortunately. And it sucks. Like Jaden Ledee, out of every single player at the G League invite yesterday, played the least amount of minutes, and yet still 11 minutes, scored 8 points.
I thought he played those little minutes, like you said, those few minutes, because he already had basically been assured of a combine invite. Because Boogie Ellis, SC, Mission Hills, San Diego kid, he played something similar. 11 or 12 minutes, was a really good day one, then played 11 or 12 minutes, and he got the combine invite. I don't think the age will take away his opportunity to be drafted or play in the NBA, maybe drafted. But I do think it maybe took away his opportunity to play in the combine. Because I think the way they're looking at it, and I could be dead wrong, and we'll talk about it more at 4:30, is like, hey, he's 24, and there's other guys that are 20, 21 that we want to get additional looks at because we've already seen Jaden Ledee.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's a little, maybe life isn't fair, but I feel like it's unfair. He's earned everything he's had for himself. He's earned, and he earned it this weekend as well. And for whatever reason, he's being denied opportunities. You don't have to be in the combine to get drafted. You don't have to be in the combine to play in the NBA. Nate Mensah had 36 games in the NBA this past year, but I don't know. He can play in the NBA. I'm telling you, I've watched this whole career. He can absolutely play in the NBA. Will he be given the chance?
I hope so. I don't know if he'll be drafted though, which is and in the draft class too that I don't really, and I don't keep up on it, so whatever, but it doesn't feel like it's a great draft class.
Tons of Europeans. We went through like a mock first round.
A bunch of French dudes.
Yeah,
again.
a lot.
The number one overall expected pick I've never heard of before.
Yeah, 4 of the top 7, I think.
His name is Alex Sarr or something?
Yeah. I think that's right, from France.
Never heard of the guy.
It's crazy. Next question.
Will Bronny James ever become an all-star in the NBA?
I'm going to say no.
It's a long time, obviously.
It's a long time. But here's the thing that Bronny has against him. One, the pressure.
He's not good enough.
Well, that's too potentially.
Yeah.
But I think the pressure that he's going to be under, he's going to get drafted. Shams has reported today that he's staying in the NBA draft. He's going to get drafted. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of just when, like what selection he'll go. So, and the Lakers, I think the odds to draft Bronny are like plus 120.
So like it's going to happen.
Like
that 55th pick, that late second round pick is the Bronny pick. They can even acquire another pick if they needed to.
And because of that, the pressure I think is going to be a lot for him to be LeBron James' son. And also his measurables. Like, why were they listing him at 6'4" in college and high school when he's really only 6'1"?
6'1.5" is what he measured at today. Yeah.
I just think that
I'm with you. That's weird.
If he was 6'8" and he had his dad's
build,
build,
figure it out.
You could do that. But I think his measurables and his size is going to play a factor in the NBA. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, here's the thing. I would never say never because you're actually talking about a 19-year-old, and I don't know what he's going to look like at 23, let alone 29. Or
he could be John Morant.
Here's the thing. He will play in the NBA, whether we like it or not. He will play in the NBA, but beyond that, we don't know what's going to happen. He could either stick or not. He could either not be capable or somehow develop into a decent player, I guess, or maybe an all-star caliber player. It's just too hard to say today what he can or cannot do.
We've seen little of him.
But if his last name wasn't James, he wouldn't be in the NBA Combine, and he wouldn't be in the NBA in 2024.
Yeah, his name was Joe Smith, unfortunately, for what he has done in college and his size. He's not getting drafted.
Do you know there was a Joe Smith that went number 1 overall, right?
I do know that.
Yeah.
He went drafted by the Warriors.
Out of Maryland.
I was just going to ask him if you knew where he went to college. You ruined it, John.
He was a Terp.
Okay. I didn't know.
You know what a Terp is?
You didn't know that?
Yeah, it's a turtle.
That's right.
There you go. Very good.
Next question. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm smart.
Put it in the vows.
A Terp is a turtle.
I love turtles.
I love turtles.
How's that relevant?
I don't know.
I love turtles and I love you. Is San Diego a baseball town?
100% yes. It's a baseball town now. It, over the last 7-8 years, has morphed from a football town to a baseball town. There's still a huge contingent of football fans here, no doubt about it. I'm included. But
oh, yeah. Well, New York has football fans. It's a good baseball city.
But it's football fans of now other teams. And so with that, it's kind of like dispersed. Like it's a wider net. But before it was condensed, singular focused on the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
That was the number one team in town, no question about it. They left. A lot of people that were Chargers fans got soured on the NFL. I would say a lot of fans just stopped being fans of the NFL. There's obviously still fans out there of the Chargers, no doubt about it. But I don't think that it outweighs the amount of Padres fans in this town anymore.
Here's the thing. I was just looking at all 30 teams to like put it in like a hierarchy. Like, where do Padres fans rank? It's so subjective, right? I know where they rank in attendance, second, only behind the Dodgers. By the way, they wouldn't be behind them if they had a larger stadium. Mm-hmm. Dodgers have a bigger stadium. I know they rank first in percentage capacity. So percentage to capacity, they're higher than the Dodgers because they're basically selling out every game. It's hard for me to be like, hey, Padres fans are better than these fans. But I'm telling you, they are on par. And I remember we had this long talk 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I went off on a tangent on it. They're right there is my point. I don't need to rank them. I don't need to tell you that they're second behind the Yankees or third behind. They're right there. I'm with Mike Schilt. Mike Schilt saying last night, after that win, this is a baseball town. And he's spot on. You can feel it. You can sense it. You can see it. I mean, the way the fan support's unbelievable. You could argue whether they've earned it over the last handful of years, but the fan support's unbelievable. But it goes beyond that. It's what people talk about. It's how people dress. It's just the psyche of some of the city as well. You can just feel it. So the Padres have benefited from the loss of the NFL. The San Diegans maybe didn't benefit. Nobody wanted the NFL to leave.
Yeah.
But the Padres have been a clear benefactor of the NFL leaving. Plus, the Padres have had some good teams, and they've invested, and they've made some sizable trades. And I do think San Diego is one of the best baseball cities in this country right now.
Because it's the only major sport in the town. So pretty much like it's Padres 365 during the offseason, especially with AJ Preller.
Yep.
You know, anything could happen. And he's proven that. And we saw what 2022 was. We were in the heart of it. I mean, this place was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, but figuratively.
Right.
Because.
Thank you for clarifying.
Right. Because of this team's success in the postseason and beating the Dodgers. I still think this place would be going crazy in 2022, but it just took it to another level when beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was special.
That run in the postseason, getting to the NLCS, a couple games away from a World Series, first time in over 20 years, like kind of cemented this is a baseball town. Going forward for the foreseeable future, it's a baseball town. And the majority of fans here that are Padres fans are going to consume baseball year round.
Yeah, that's what makes San Diego. I've said this before. There's only one city in the country. I don't count Oakland. because who knows what's happening with the A's and are not consumed by the Bay, right? It's not a topical conversation, the Oakland A's, even 20 years ago, probably. But the only city in America with one Big Four team that's a baseball team is San Diego. Yeah. The only city in America with one Big Four team that's a baseball team is San Diego. Therefore, it has to be treated differently than it's treated in other cities. Here's the thing. Out east, there's a lot of proud franchises. Pittsburgh Pirates in the 70s, Baltimore Orioles in the 80s. There's these big cities, the Bostons and the Philadelphias. But guess what? You get into July, and those NFL teams report to training camp, and you get steamrolled by and large, maybe not the New York Yankees, but a lot of these proud franchises get completely and utterly dominated. Baltimore's going to win 100 games. The Orioles, nobody cares. The Ravens are playing the Chiefs in the opener.
Yeah, guess what happens September 5th? It's football season in Baltimore.
And not to say that football doesn't matter here, because it does. And what you said, I thought was spot on. There are a lot of football fans, and truth be told, there are a lot of Charger fans, even if it's discussed differently today. But you're not getting run over anymore by the NFL here. And in September, if you are in it, it's not, well, yeah, they're in it, but you know what? I'll pay attention on Monday because the Chargers are playing the Chiefs on Sunday. That's not as relevant anymore. And you could almost argue that's become irrelevant to some extent here.
And there's not ever a 100% of anything in life. There's not a 100% people want to listen to this, 100% people want to talk about this.
Of course.
But there is majorities. And I think even if it's a 60-40 majority, it's still a 60-40 majority.
Yep, that's a good point.
And during the offseason, if there is a legitimate Padres rumor going around, that to me is considered like still Padres
big story.
Baseball town. It's a big story. You want to talk about that? Or do you want to talk about week 3 in the NFL?
Right. Why can't Justin Herbert, I don't know what he can't do.
Complete a pass to his no-name wide receivers.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, and we talk about both. Obviously, you talk about the NFL during the NFL season. But again, that's what I do think has elevated San Diego of a baseball. Which is different here because you don't have the NFL to go up against, and it's hard to go up against the NFL. Other than, again, I think like a Yankees can transcend. There's other teams. Yeah. The Red Sox are a big deal, don't get me wrong. But here, it just feels like you got that clear lane, that clear runway to talk about it year-round.
There's nothing between anything. It's full head of steam forward. Schulte mentioned it the other day. Baseball town. It is a baseball town. This town sports revolves around the Padres, plain and simple.
All right, here's what we're going to do on the other side. Of course, I would argue, obviously, the relevancy of San Diego State football and basketball, and I think others that are listening to me right now would say the same thing. Aaron Bergen covers San Diego hoops for Full-Time Hoops. He'll join us on the other side. Why is Jaden Ledee not in the NBA Combine? Plus, looking at the Aztecs roster for the upcoming season at 5 p.m., Rocco Miller on the NIL tournament, reportedly coming to Las Vegas involving San Diego State. And at 5:30, Kyle Newman. Denver Post gets us ready for Rockies and Padres tonight at Petco at 6:40. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. If you're always on the go, and I know you are between your job and getting home and picking up the kids and everything else that's going on in your daily lives, I've got a game changer for you when it comes to snacking. If you want to be healthier, look no further than Almond RX packs. You can eliminate the vending machine from your day, and you can eat healthier and get your daily immunity boost and dose of vitamin D. It's healthy, but it's tasty. It's a tasty snack that curbs hunger. Look no further than Almond RX. It's the first and only skinless almond fortified with vitamin D. You're going to get your daily serving of 23 almonds, okay? And it was founded by a San Diego sports medicine physician. Almond RX is packed with nutrients supporting your heart health, cellular health, and gut health. You can find Almond RX at any Foodland in San Diego County. They're also available at Harvest Ranch up in Encinitas or at almondrx.com. That's ALMONDRX.com. In fact, go there right now and you'll get free shipping on your order of $25 or more. at almondrx.com. It's going to change the way you snack. Almond RX curbs hunger, and it's perfect for the on-the-go lifestyle.
All right, this update's brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy. Padres start a 3-game series tonight with the Colorado Rockies. 6:40 first pitch. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. NBA playoffs. Oh, speaking of the Padres, Hassan Kim is in the lineup today after getting hit on the wrist. Wanted to make sure that was in the update. Moving over to the NBA playoffs happening right now. Celtics Cavaliers game 4 of that series. Donovan Mitchell, he is out for the Cavs with a calf injury. Cavs trail the Celtics 31-24 with 2 minutes left in the first quarter there. Mavericks Thunder game 4 of that series tips off tonight at 6:30 p.m. with the Mavs leading that series 2-1. And the opener for the NFL season was announced today. It will be the Chiefs taking on the Ravens on September 5th. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today.
As to why Jaden Ledee wasn't initially invited to the NBA Combine, Karl Malone Award winner, then had a really good couple of days in Chicago in the G League event and doesn't get the invite. So what's next for Jaden Ledee? It's good to catch up with Aaron Bergen. We've never had him on, Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760. So Aaron, I appreciate you doing it. Really good resource, all things San Diego hoops at fulltimehoops.com. Aaron, first of all, thanks for coming on. And yeah, what do you make? I mean, you've covered Jaden obviously throughout the course of his career. Why is it that Jaden hasn't reached the level where he has gotten an invite to the Combine? And what does it mean for him moving forward with his goal on the NBA?
So I was a little surprised after his performance at the G League Combine that he didn't get the call. But when you looked at the 5 guys that they selected, they all have certain things in common. You know, I say like with Enrique Freeman and Isaac Jones, they're, you know, a couple of inches taller than Jaden at the same position, a little longer at the same position. A guy like Boogie Ellis, you know, he fits the mold of that 6-man scorer that you see that's been, you know, big deal over the past 20 years in the NBA, a Jamal Crawford type, but just a little smaller. You know, for Jaden, I think he's still got hoop dreams and he's going to be able to make it to some level. Does this make it a little bit more difficult for him to get to the NBA? Possibly, but I think he is a known commodity and he can, you know, find his way, you know, whether it's not even on draft boards, but just into an undrafted rookie camp or onto a summer league team by what he does in these pre-draft workouts with NBA teams. So I don't think it's over by any stretch. Is it disappointing that he didn't get a combine invite? For sure. But there are definitely different avenues and routes he can take to get to the league still.
Aaron, when you look at Jaden's game, what best translates to the NBA? You know, because we can talk about what he doesn't have, but like, what about what he does have that NBA teams would be looking at?
I personally think his rebounding will translate. I mean, he is an absolute grizzly bear in the paint. I mean, he, you know, averaged 8 rebounds a game, had multiple double-doubles over the course of his senior year. He knows how to carve out space in the lane. He has above average length. You know, I think his some of the elite camp measurements, you know, he was 6'7" 3/4 height, but his wingspan 6'11". That's going to allow him to be able to tangle in the paint with, you know, the size that you see inside of the paint in the NBA. I think that is the very first thing that will translate. I think of, you know, guys over the years like Paul Millsap from Louisiana Tech, who was a big-time rebounder in college, and that always translated for him. And so I think that's the first thing that will get there. I think the next thing that gets there is his ability to exploit mismatches at his position, either at the 4 or the 5. That was what made him so successful this year. He's not a natural 5, but his ability to be able to break guys down from the mid-range and get into the paint, you know, use his body to ward off bigger defenders, you know, his ability to finish at a really high percentage, all those things, you know, are translatable. Now, you talk about the things that he doesn't have, and, you know, I think all of those things have been well documented. Does he shoot the ball consistently at a high percentage from the free throw line and out? He shot it well this year, but this was the first year he'd actually taken shots outside of the mid range. I mean, so he's got to put together a little bit more of a resume, shooting the ball from distance in order to prove that, yeah, I'm capable of doing that. I think he's more than capable of it. But I think back a couple of years ago to a guy like Isaiah Mobley, who got an invite to the combine as a junior, as a senior, did not receive a combine invite, but was still had proven enough over his college career that he was able to get picked in the second round of the draft. I still think I mean, I'd be a fool to say that like it's over for Jaden at this point. It's not. I think that the G League film that he put together at that camp is going to have some teams interested, and at this point it's just going to be about what he does, when those teams call him for those group workouts.
Aaron Bergen with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, covers San Diego hoops for fulltimehoops.com. I didn't mention this when we texted back and forth, but if you don't mind, we're going to ask you about a couple of additional names, one of which is a former Aztec that then transferred for his final year of college eligibility, Keyshawn Johnson to Arizona, who was a really, highly skilled player that kept developing at San Diego State. You could argue kept developing at Arizona as well. He is in the combine. I think there are some mock drafts that have him right now in the second round. What type of pro prospect do you see Keyshawn Johnson potentially being?
So Keyshawn is, a guy that I saw work out over the summers. I have a son who plays Division I basketball, and he comes back home and, gets into the gym with a lot of these guys. So KJ is a guy I saw, from his freshman year on, just continue to get better and add, pieces offensively to his game. When he came in, he was an athletic specimen who was really raw. By the time he left Arizona, it's very clear that you can peg him as a 3-and-D wing prospect, a guy who will be able to defend the other team's best wing player and is going to be able to catch and shoot, or at least, one dribble pull-ups, knock down shots from the mid-range, and do those consistently. A lot of credit goes to Phil Scott, a guy who worked behind the scenes a lot with these guys at San Diego State. He just got the assistant coach job at Long Beach State. Got to give him a big shout out because he played a critical role in KJ's development over the years. But I think that's why you see him. I think Jonathan Givony has him in his second round, mid second rounds, 45th or 46th pick. And that's essentially what you're going to get with a guy like Keyshawn Johnson. Guy who can guard his ass off, pardon my French, and a guy who can also knock down shots off the catch. You're not expecting a whole lot much more from him offensively, but those are things that, again, we talk about things that translate to the league, defense and knocking down open shots.
What do you make of the draft class overall? Do you think it's a strong draft class, or do you think it's a draft class that we won't really see, kind of produce for another couple of years here? Because there's a lot of foreign players and a lot of college, pros. It feels like this class is kind of like up in the air.
If at the very top, it feels really underwhelming. I've heard, colleagues refer to this in the same breath as the 2000 NBA draft, and I remember as an 18-year-old hearing everyone say that was the worst draft class ever. Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk about, teams potentially trading out of some of the higher spots in the lottery just because there isn't anyone that really warrants like a top pick, a top selection. I know Alex Sarr has gotten a lot of interest and love, the overseas kid from Australia. And I know that there are several other, you said foreign-born players who are, not known commodities to us across the pond, but, could be household names later on down the line. But it feels with the combination of the unknown of the international prospects and just the underwhelming nature of some of our domestic prospects, and let's not forget, there were several high-level prospects who went to the G League Ignite team, and that team just completely cratered this year, forcing the NBA to disband that experiment. And several of those guys really saw their draft stock, take a hit as a result of, the lack of success on that team.
Yeah.
So you combine that all together, and it's this perfect storm of, this could be one of the poorest draft classes we've had in a long time.
Aaron, one more before you go. Aaron Bergen, fulltimehoops.com, with us right now on Jon and Jim. Just Bronny James. I mean, there's all this hype around him. We never hear from him. It's not his fault, I guess, but he's in the combine. You wonder whether he would even be at this stage, obviously, without his last name at this point in his career. Who knows what the future holds? But what have you seen from Bronny that allows you to think that what he's done to this point will translate to the NBA as soon as this upcoming year?
So I got a chance to see a bit of him in high school and saw the development from his freshman to his senior year. By his senior year, there were some things that really popped out. His athleticism, his defense, and his catch and shoot ability were all at a really high level. But then he had this life-altering event, in terms of the cardiac arrest, that really set him back. I mean, it's a miracle that we're even discussing Bronny as, a potential draft selection in 2024. That's a type of health condition that will scare off a lot of NBA teams. But when you have the surname James, obviously with that, you're going to get second, third, and fourth looks. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to impact an NBA roster, at this point in his career. In a few years down the line, who knows if he's able to just get back into the peak athletic form that he was before the cardiac event, and prove that he can be a capable guy who's capable of spacing the floor first and foremost. And then secondly, a guy who can operate as a secondary ball handler, out of the pick and roll and create, like that, then we'll see. His measurements at the draft combine, obviously his height is something that everyone's talking about today, him measuring 6'1.5" barefoot. I mean, that was a little bit of a surprise. But he's also got a 6'7.5" wingspan, which, a +6 wingspan is very impressive regardless of what position. And I think, again, that allows him to guard bigger guys on the perimeter. So the pieces are there. It's just going to take time and patience. And he's not going to be a guy that, if you're an NBA franchise that's actually thinking about, making deep runs into the playoffs next season, throwing him out there on the court.
No doubt. Aaron, great perspective. We appreciate you taking some time for us here on Jon and Jim. Again, Aaron Bergen, fulltimehoops.com, covers San Diego basketball. Aaron, appreciate it. We hope to do it again at some point later on this summer.
Yes, sir.
All right, great stuff, Aaron Bergen. All right, on the other side, back to tonight's Padres-Rockies series opener and a look at that Padres lineup. Plus, Rocco Miller will join us at 5 p.m. We'll talk about that NIL basketball tournament, reportedly with San Diego State. And then at 5:30, Kyle Newman, Denver Post on Padres and Rockies. Stay with us. All right, guess who's back in the lineup tonight for the Padres as we get you ready for Rockies and Padres game 1 tonight at 6:40. That's next. Coming up May 22nd, benefiting Ronald McDonald House Charity San Diego. Proceeds stay in San Diego, directly supporting our families. Funds raised during Red Shoe Day support lodging, meals, emotional support, and family day services provided by the house at no cost to families. Our iHeart team for Red Shoe Day will be collecting donations at the intersection of Balboa Avenue and Ruffin Road, Wednesday, May 22nd, 7 to 9:30 a.m. Again, Wednesday, May 22nd, Balboa and Ruffin, 7 to 9:30 a.m., collecting donations for Red Shoe Day. All right, Rocco Miller's going to join us in 10 or 15 minutes. He covers college hoops. He's got the latest on that NIL tournament in Vegas that reportedly involves San Diego State. And then Kyle Newman from the Denver Post will join us coming up at 5:30. You've been mentioning this in your updates. Ha-Seong Kim, if you saw this, and you've seen it on replay, he took a flush fastball at like 94 yesterday and is in the lineup the next day.
I thought this was way past a little ouchie.
Little ouchie?
And maybe like a
no.
A big owie that turned into a no.
But no. They did x-rays and it was just a little ouchie.
Just a little ouchie.
Little ouchie?
Just a little ouchie. And he's back
Little
in
ouchie?
there. So that's big.
It's just big because of what it means for everyone else. Not like he's hitting 350, but he plays good defense. You plug him in every single day. And now you don't have to go move Xander Bogaerts or go move around the rest of your infield.
He's actually doing the exact opposite of hitting 350. He's actually one of the Padres on the team that's struggling mightily.
Yeah, right. He's hitting like 200.
200.
And you wouldn't think this would help his ability to hit in the
No.
short term, getting hit on the hand or wrist or wherever it was yesterday.
But like you said, you take him out of the lineup.
Yeah,
Then,
what would you do?
Honestly, I'd probably move Xander back to short. Maybe that like is a psyche thing and like gets him going.
Yeah, but then what if he gets going?
Well, then that's a great problem to have because guess what? Ha-Seong Kim
Can play second.
was a Gold Glove second baseman.
Yeah, but the whole February, hey, Ha-Seong Kim's their shortstop. They changed that if he misses a week, which isn't going to happen now because he's not going to miss a week right now.
I mean,
yeah, but I'm with
at this point in time,
John.
John, I know we're a little over 40 games into the season, but
Yep.
anything to get those guys going, I'm all game.
Mm-hmm.
If it means to move them back to their positions, not going to happen.
Right.
And it would only happen if Ha-Seong Kim was injured, then they have to move things around. That's what we're talking about it. Because if Ha-Seong Kim missed any time, which he's back in the lineup today, then I would probably I'd just move Xander back to short, put Donovan Solano at second, and then Manny and plays at third. And when he's DHing, then you can have Tyler Wade at third.
Well, you also have Luis Ariz.
Oh, yeah, that too.
That guy.
I forgot about Luis Ariz.
The hit king.
You could put Luis Ariz at second, Donovan Solano at third, and have Manny as your DH. Like, they have options here for sure. If Ha-Seong Kim happened to not play, but we don't have to worry about it because he's back in the lineup.
Honestly, I would. I hope he has 3 hits tonight. I would sit him. And the reason I say that is like the season is long, and I don't know if he's the difference between winning and losing tonight. He may or may not be, as in they might win with him or win without him, or lose with him or lose without him. Like, you took a fastball on the wrist yesterday, and you're playing the Rockies, and you can tell me that he's 100%, but he's not. Yeah. So I'd probably give him a day, but they haven't elected to do that. So it's just a hypothetical about what would they do if Kim wasn't in there, because he's going to play.
If you got hit on the hand,
I'd be out for a month and a half.
Got hit on the hand,
I'd be broken arm.
I mean, you would not only have a broken arm, you'd be without use of your hand for months.
Correct. I went down a very small water slide in Pennsylvania with my son. I'm talking about a 3-foot slide. The slide, I kid you not, was as tall as this counter. Okay.
Very, very short.
But it was very slippery at the bottom. And Kristen said, be careful, it's really slippery, or you're going to end up on your butt. So I was like, had to land on my feet. And I did, but it was slippery. And like my toe folded underneath me, and it still hurts 4 weeks later. So I would be if I was a Padre making like $35 million a year, they'd be like, are you available again today? I'd be like, no, my toe still hurts from that little slide I went down.
So you wouldn't go down the Brewer slide then, like Vesse?
Hell no. I'd be dead going down that.
Dave Vesse broke like his ribs or his arm or shoulder.
It was just like his arm or something like that.
That was crazy.
Well, for you, it's not a little ouchy. It's like
it's a no.
It's a massive oh no.
Dude, I don't do anything.
I know you.
That's why I do this, not that.
Right.
You know,
like,
and
you twist your ankle, you're done.
Stephen A. Oh, they're baseball players. Dude, do you have any idea what it's like to have to perform at the highest level after suffering any type of injury with no days off?
Yeah.
I mean, even in football, there's a period of time for rest and recovery.
Right.
There's none of that for baseball.
None of it. None of it at all.
24 hours, get back in there, and they're expecting you to field your position and have a hit or two and impact the game.
There's a guy on 60 feet away throwing a pitch 100 miles an hour at you.
Exactly.
And you got to hit it. Good luck.
Stephen A. says it's easy.
Stephen A. doesn't know baseball.
Mike Trout, all he is injured. Okay.
He doesn't know baseball. All he knows is basketball, and he gets through football.
Does he?
I would say that if
of the sports of
the expertise, because he covered basketball the longest for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Stephen A.
You're an idiot and you don't know baseball.
100%. But yeah, maybe just don't talk baseball. And that's fine, because that's not their show. They don't talk baseball at all, and they do just fine. Like, they never talk baseball, and you'll never hear them talk baseball unless it's like a big story or something with Mike Trout happened. And
it's always a negative thing. It's like benches cleared or unwritten rule. It's never has to do with an actual like circumstance that played out.
It's like, man, you see the Dodgers lost 2 or 3 this weekend. That parade they had during the weekend.
Yeah.
What a bad look. Is that parade a bad look for Dodgers fans?
Would they even do that? Probably not.
No, they're not. They don't even know they played this.
No, they would never do anything that involved a bad look for the Dodgers.
True.
Probably true. All right, Rocco Miller will join us on the other side. The latest on this NIL basketball tournament reportedly involving San Diego State. And at 5:30, Kyle Newman from the Denver Post will get us ready for Padres Rockies game 1 of a 3-game series tonight at 6:40 at Petco. It's hour 3 of Jon and Jim, and it's next.
This update is brought to you by ExpressPros.com. Padres start a 3-game series with the Rockies tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. Ha-Seong Kim, after leaving yesterday's game after getting hit in the hand, is in tonight's lineup. That is good news for the Padres. Moving over to the NFL schedule release. The opener for the 2024 season will be the Chiefs and the Ravens Thursday, September 5th. Also just announced moments ago, Tom Brady's first broadcasting game of his career will be the Browns taking on the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. An NBA playoff action happening right now. Cavs and Celtics, game 4 of that series. Celtics lead the series 2-1. They also lead game 4, 55-53 with 2:28 left in the first half. Mavericks Thunder, game 4 of that series, with the Mavs leading at 2-1. Tips off at 6:30 in Dallas. Use the experts on hiring for professional roles. Visit srgexpress.com to connect with professionals in accounting, IT, and engineering. The specialized recruiting group takes an individual approach, placing people in contracts and full-time roles. srgexpress.com.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. We're getting you ready for tonight at Petco. I'm sure some of you are heading there right now. Kyle Newman covers the Rockies, who did sweep a series from the Rangers with really good pitching and defense. They allowed 6 runs in a home series at Coors. Yeah, I know. 6 runs against the Rangers at home.
So this won't be like this easy, quote-unquote, series here.
Agreed.
I mean, they're playing good baseball, the Rockies, and you're playing good baseball as well, and you can't slip up here. Can't.
They got to win this series. So Kyle Newman will join us at 5:30. We'll get back into it in about 10 minutes as well. But right now, it's great to catch up with Rocco Miller, who does such a good job covering college basketball in a variety of different ways, including at bracketeer.org. He's back with us on Jon and Jim. I know he's been writing about this NIL tournament that we've been discussing because reportedly San Diego State is going to be in the field. And Rocco, first of all, we appreciate it. I saw that you tweeted out earlier today that you've been in touch with the organizers of this event as recently as today. Tell us, I guess, for those that are unaware of what is playing out here, what is this event going to entail, and how may it impact other non-conference events in college basketball moving forward with the money that's involved for the collectives?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, guys.
Yeah.
It's developing as we discuss here today, but there are some emerging details that are helping us solve that puzzle. I think it was at first announced a few months back that this was going to be an event, and several around the event space in college basketball are people I've been in touch with over the last several off seasons and trying to help teams as more of a consulting role on how to go about their schedule. San Diego State and the Mountain West are a big part of the teams that I help on an annual basis. So the idea behind the event is to give each team that comes the opportunity to earn up to $1 million for the team, is my understanding, as kind of a guaranteed number, and then the opportunity to earn another $1 million should they win the event. Now, they're trying to avoid it being connected to pay for play directly, so that these perhaps commercials, ads, etc., that the players and the team up to the event. So you'll start to see some of that play out for each of the 8 teams that have now committed to the event. What I heard from the beginning was San Diego State was actually one of the first teams to commit. So pretty savvy move, in my opinion, by the Aztecs to get involved early. I think the concern around the industry is how sustainable is this? Because some of the more veteran groups, starting with ESPN all the way over to the Battle for Atlantis, some of the most successful organizers across the country many of them have expressed to me personally that they don't see how this is a ROI opportunity long term. But perhaps they do have some generous donors that are not looking to make immediate profit on the event. So we're all very curious to see how that part of it shakes out. But there's clearly a commitment. We just some of the recent news is Creighton became the last team to make it a complete 8-team field, and Creighton was committed to the Battle for Atlantis, which is a significant statement. Battle for Atlantis and Maui Invitational, as you guys know, are the two premier events annually in college basketball, and teams fight and have to earn kind of over a historic good run of great seasons consistently to be invited to either of those events. So to see any team pull out of an event like that to do this just shows how significant it can be. The other part of it is as well is a lot of this promised NIL money through events, whether it's a preseason tournament like this or even some one-off games that you're seeing scheduled more and more lately. Some of that money is being promised back directly to returning roster members, players that they've recruited in the portal. So there's just so much that's on the line for these guys to keep their rosters together. And I think that's why you saw a team like Texas A&M jump from the Charleston Classic into this, because they have guys like Wade Taylor, Jace Carter, some Anderson Garcia, some real studs coming back to that team. And I think some of that, and again, this is just me reading between the lines. I'm not getting that validated by A&M directly, but you can kind of see this as a way to prevent some of those guys from entering the portal, because when A&M joined this tournament, it was just a couple days before the portal deadline.
What do you expect the format to be in this NIL tournament?
So we're getting some clues now. My information early on was that there would be 2 pods. You of course have 2 SEC teams with Alabama and Texas A&M. So given the NCAA rules that you're not allowed to plan an event where teams can be in the same bracket from the same league unless it was signed before realignment. So like you'll see that in Battle for Atlantis this year with Arizona and West Virginia. They will be allowed to play each other there, but that's because they committed before realignment was announced. In this case, this came together late. So Houston cannot play against Texas A&M. And Texas A&M cannot play against Alabama, I should say. They're both in the SEC. And you have the same situation with Oregon and Rutgers both being in the new Big Ten. So they have started to split up pods. It came out earlier today that Houston will actually play both they'll play Rutgers, Notre Dame, and I believe Alabama. And so if it is going to be 2 true pods, that would mean San Diego State would have Creighton, Texas A&M, and the other team I'm missing, I believe, is Oregon. So that would be the 3 teams San Diego State would play if they do the pod format. However, we don't know for sure if they don't mix and match these opponents. So that's the last piece of the format.
Rocco Miller with us right now. He covers college hoops and does an amazing job of it right here on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. I think that the interesting part is a lot of times when you think preseason tournament, what's called MTEs, but for fans, like a preseason tournament, you think there's like a winner. And if there's an additional $1 million in here, how do you determine a winner if you have multiple pods and there's a round robin? Is it going to be like the NBA event that they did this year, where all of a sudden you're looking at like who beat whom by how many points to determine who won the event? Or is that why this still hasn't yet been announced? Because these are some of the details and logistics that still have to be worked through.
Yeah, that's my presumption. That's why it's not been fully announced with the details, because they are still negotiating, how they would determine a winner. I think, you'll see in some of the articles that came out since Creighton joined, which was just a few days ago at the end of last week, that they are now discussing taking the combined prize pool, whether that's $1 million or $2 million. I think that's still being worked out, but then you could maybe divide that up. So if you have, 2 teams that go 3-0, or if you have a mixture of matchups and somehow you get to a place where 3 teams go 3-0, they would just divide up that pot. I don't think they're going to get down to a tiebreaker scenario or anything like that, because that would actually defeat the purpose of what this is more about. This is the name of the event, I believe, is going to be called the Players NIL Festival or something close to that effect. And so basically this is an event for the players. So the last thing you want to do is punish a player or punish a player's earning opportunity by taking some of the money away for losing a tiebreaker. So I don't foresee that, but I do see maybe a scenario where they have to split up some of that prize pool.
What does $1 million mean for a collective like San Diego State?
I think it's really important because it's NIL in general is it's not like what we think of with pro contracts where there's guaranteed this or guaranteed that. So a lot of the variables are pretty significant. So there's earning opportunities up to that amount, but that leaves a lot of wiggle room. And in fact, most cases the players are not getting sometimes what they're promised. And so within that, San Diego State's obviously trying their very hardest to stay at the top of the nation's cream of the crop program. They operate with a budget much higher than anybody in the Mountain West. And in order to continue to retain and build with top talent, they've got to figure out ways to compete in this way. So programs like San Diego State and even programs like Oregon, Rutgers, and Texas A&M and Creighton, they can take money from this and say, listen, this is just as good of an earning opportunity as you'll have with a donor promising it. In fact, it might be even better because we have it in writing. Until the NCAA starts figuring out its overall, ground rules and bylaws and guardrails behind NIL, which is so undefined, which is why it's the Wild West right now. I think this is a perfect opportunity for San Diego State and an invite to the dinner table to play with the nation's best. And effectively, if they play those three teams that we listed, Oregon and Texas A&M and Creighton coming into this year, you're probably seeing at least two of those in the top 15. And Oregon's going to bring back Shellstad, Bartholomew. They picked up TJ Bamba and Brandon Angel in the portal already. So those are some really strong tests on top of, as we know, San Diego State will play Gonzaga this year as well. And I think they'll look to add another big game or two as we go. So I think it's very exciting for them, and it's an opportunity for their players to cash in on some good play.
I'm pretty sure San Diego State and Creighton are in the same league at this point. They've met in an Elite Eight. They've met in a first round. They met in Vegas 5 years ago. The team with Malachi Flynn and Yanni Wetzel, San Diego State blew the doors off Creighton about 5 years ago. It'll be interesting to see if they do, in fact, meet up again this fall. One more, Rocco, before you go, because there was news this weekend about realignment in college hoops out west. The WCC adding Grand Canyon. They've had a lot of success recently. We've seen San Diego State take on the Lopes. Seattle University as well going to the WCC. My question isn't really what it means for the WCC. My question is, what does it mean for the Mountain West moving forward?
Well, I think I think it's there's a lot of details within that. I think first of all, WCC's protecting their future with the potential. Gonzaga's been on the fence for a long time, looking at options in either the Big 12, the Big East, or maybe it is better for them to stay based on financial incentives that that's kept Gonzaga actually from ever joining the Mountain West. But I think what it does is it gives wiggle room, of which the WCC fully expects both Washington State and Oregon State to be just a 2-year kind of a loan program, if you will, if you're familiar with soccer terminology. But that the fact that Oregon State and Washington State won the preliminary lawsuit with the PAC. Now, of course, it's just the PAC-2, and they own the rights to that. They have the ability to go out and grab teams from the Mountain West, grab teams from the American Conference, grab teams that make sense for them, and that's, of course, most likely going to be football-driven decision-making. They could do what they want with basketball. We'll see if there's any different teams in addition to what they want to do football. The other option for them is if the Mountain West somehow ingests those two into their own formed conference. But I do think what Washington State and Oregon State prefer is to have full autonomy over who gets invited into that league, which is why the Pac-12 hasn't fully folded. It's officially still an entity and controlled by those two schools. But that won't happen until probably nothing will be announced. I don't think in the next year. Maybe it will. But nothing will take fold until the 26-27 school year. But I do think the stage is set for the Mountain West to have changes based on all of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's what it seems like is occurring, especially in the West right now after what has occurred with the Pac-12 over the last 12 months. Rocco, we love your reporting and your insight and all of your knowledge, and we hope to have you on again at some point later this summer. this tournament will be announced sooner rather than later? This NIL tournament, in your mind?
I would imagine so, because now all 8 teams have signed contracts, and that's I've been able to validate that. Usually it's not too long after all the contracts are signed where they want to do a press release. And keep in mind, the $1 million is again being earned through a lot of different advertisements, festivities leading up to the event. So I'm sure the organizers are anxious to get some of that process started. And so I would expect something sooner than later.
Rocco, appreciate it. Great stuff as always. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Rocco Miller.
I'm excited for this, man. Let's do this.
We got a broadcast from the NIL Players Tournament in Vegas, right? Jon and Jim? If they give us $1 million to broadcast from this event, would you do it for $1 million, or do you need more? I mean, Washington apparently, reportedly today, remember Great Osibor? A lot of the matchups, Utah State, San Diego State, Ladie, Osibor. Ladie got one Player of the Year award. Osibor with one more year of eligibility. Brent, did you hear this? At the University of Washington, reportedly got the most money ever given via NIL. Again, it's only been a few years, but $2.2 million for the upcoming year.
Crazy. Wild.
Wild West, like we're talking about.
I would broadcast for like $10.
Yeah, I know you would. You'd probably pay $10 to broadcast.
I'd pay them $10 to broadcast there in Vegas for this NIL tournament. A lot of good teams. I love the bubble, like the
pods,
the pod format, right?
Yeah. Give me some San Diego State Creighton. I love that.
It almost feels like the NBA season in tournament.
Yeah.
Or the NBA season
in-season tournament.
In-season tournament.
Yep.
Where they had like pods.
Yeah.
And then the team with the best winning
like
percentage advanced to the next round, and they play each other and they meet up. Like, that's really cool.
No, it's very cool. All right, let's get back to the Padres, because Kyle Newman from the Denver Post, who's joined us earlier this season when the Padres and Rockies met like 3 weeks ago, he'll join us again at 5:30. What has gotten into the Rockies, who did play much better this weekend in sweeping the Texas Rangers. Now you have a Padres team that has won 4 consecutive series, Jim.
Yep.
They're beating good teams. Earlier I said they were 12-8 against teams over 500. They're 11-9, but that's still a .550 winning percentage. And it's as good as basically any team in the National League right now against teams over 500. They've done really well against the LA Dodgers. I guess the next step in this journey is not beating good teams. It is beating, below average teams, because they're 2 games over 500 against good teams, which means they're actually a game under 500 against quote unquote bad teams. So I feel like the next step in this journey is to go beat up on someone. And we'll see if that happens this week or not.
I don't think it per se is to beat up on teams.
Well, have they swept anyone yet?
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
sweep a series?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say right now. I'm not saying do it with this series, but at some point that would be nice.
I'm totally fine with them just winning the series.
I'm not saying this series, but I'm saying at some point it would be nice to sweep a 3 game.
Sustained winning streak if you don't sweep anybody. Like,
you can't have a winning streak if you lose
correct
1 of every 3 games.
Correct. You're going to have to, the Dodgers came in this weekend winning 7 in a row.
Right.
And I love the excuses from Dodgers fans this weekend. Well, our bats were cold. We weren't playing our best baseball. You guys won 14 of 16 and you just won 7 in a row. Give me a break.
Right.
Stop that. You guys are playing your best baseball this season, arguably.
But Ohtani sat Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Ohtani sat. Mookie Betts is not playing well. Blah, 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 blah. Right. Walker Buehler coming off his Tommy John. Blah, blah. Said about making a second start. Blah, 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 blah. Right. You guys lost. Take it.
Right.
I just think continuing to win series, continuing to play good baseball is the only goal for this Padres team right now. Making sure that the great start to this month doesn't, like, you don't have, if you have a bad second half of this month, it negates everything you did to start this month, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Yeah.
And so just win the series, just play good baseball, but also be alert that, like, you're not facing a team that has lost 20 in a row. You're facing a team that just swept the defending World Series champions at home, albeit, but they also played really well in those games. And by the way, the last time you faced the Rockies, we all remember what happened. So it wasn't an easy 4-game sweep versus the Rockies in Colorado. They split, and the Rockies didn't look like the worst team in baseball at times versus you. So with that being in mind, continue to play good baseball. And I think tonight's another big start for Randy Vasquez, because he had his best start of the year versus the Cubs last week. You don't want to follow that up with a clunker, especially with everybody in front of you pitching like they've been pitching. And it's a big start for him because it looks like Joe, who threw a bullpen today, is probably going to be back sooner rather than later.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that because I believe it's Jeff Sanders in the UT. It is. Asked if this starts the clock toward a return to the rotation around May 20th, Padres manager Mike Schilt said, quote unquote, we'll see how he recovers. Now, remember, he's eligible to come off May 17th, which I believe is Friday. It is. But the way it was posed was, can he return around May 20th? And Mike Schultz said, we will see how it goes. And also, if you're throwing a bullpen on a Monday, you're not going to be starting in a big league game, I wouldn't think, on a Friday because he'll likely throw another bullpen. You don't go one bullpen into starting again after being on the IL. You'd have multiple bullpens. So my point is that this will likely be a bit of a longer stint than what Darvish had, as opposed to maybe the 14, 15 day or whatever it is. Maybe this is more like the 15 to 20 day, which is all fine if he's healthy, but we might be looking at like a series later than we initially envisioned like last week.
He's going to come off the IL, make his first start on my wedding day versus the Yankees.
100%, and throw a no-hitter.
And throw
it would have been a perfect game if not for hitting Juan Soto with the first pitch of the game or whatever.
Correct.
Because they wanted to retaliate.
It's going to be a scoreless game heading into the ninth inning. Joe's throwing a perfect game.
And then he's going to hit for himself and homer.
And then in the bottom of the ninth inning, Xander Bogaerts the walk-off home run.
Right. And then rips off his jersey and says I hate Jim.
With a picture of the back of my head on it.
Exactly. From the press conference. And then you're just going to be at your rehearsal dinner. No,
I'm going to be at the wedding.
Whatever.
With you as well.
Darvish or me?
No, you.
Me.
Yes, you.
Darvish.
John Schaefer.
Did you invite Darvish?
I did. I did not get a response back.
On the other side, Kyle Newman, he covers the Rockies for the Denver Post. Much more on this series that kicks off tonight at 6:40. Kyle Newman joins us next on Jon and Jim. Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loans. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash. They're doing it almost instantly with Loan Pronto's AI-based system. You can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home, and you can use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saving over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value, it's way up, and you can use that to wipe out all those credit cards. Maybe get some money for home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. Call now. Here's the number, 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336, or loanpronto.com. Again, 619-207-4336, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
All right, this update is brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres, Rockies start a 3-game series later tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. Good news, Ha-Seong Kim is back in tonight's lineup after leaving yesterday's game after getting hit on the hand. NBA playoff action happening right now. Game 4 between the Celtics and the Cavs. Cavs without Donovan Mitchell tonight. They lead the Celtics 65-64 with 8:58 left in the third quarter there. Celtics have a 2-1 series lead. And Mavericks and Thunder tip off at 6:30 tonight in Dallas. Dallas has a 2-1 series lead there. And the NFL schedule release, the opener has been announced for the 2024 season. Chiefs versus Ravens, Thursday night, September 5th. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, Padres and Rockies to kick off game 1 of a 3-game series here at Petco Park. And all of a sudden, the Rockies have swept the series against the Texas Rangers. That came really out of nowhere. And now they're in San Diego to kick off this 3-game week-long set. Kyle Newman covers the Rockies for the Denver Post. He's back with us on Jon and Jim. And Kyle, we always appreciate your time. So what got into the Rockies? They allowed just 6 runs this weekend. They played really good defense, got good pitching. They sweep the defending champs. How did this come to be?
Yeah, it's the red hot Rocks.
Right.
Padres might want to be shaking their boots. Okay, probably not. But, the Rockies finally get a series win, first series win of the season, last MLB team to do it. And that came off the heels of their big win over the Giants in the season finale, which catapulted them to winning consecutive games for the first time all season in that Texas series before going on to the sweep. So, getting a couple infamous dubious marks out of the way. I don't want to say they're putting it all together yet, but certainly in that series against the defending champs, good pitching, some timely hitting, some really good defense, especially in the series finale on Sunday. And, I think they're starting to put together what people thought they could be. And that wasn't, a playoff team or even a 500 team by any means, but at least a team that when at home, they would play pretty well. And we saw that in this last homestand. Now, can they carry it into this road trip, starting in San Diego, and then they got to go up to the northern part of the state and play the Giants and A's, both whom are, A's especially doing pretty well. So we'll see if they can continue it. Traditionally, over the last few years, they've had struggles carrying that momentum from home. But it's at least good for the Rockies faithful to, see them get a couple W's and a series win at home amidst what's been a pretty sad season so far.
Dakota Hudson making the start tonight for the Rockies. Not good numbers. Do you expect him to continue to struggle here tonight?
Yeah, shoot, he's been kind of a disappointment. Let's not kid ourselves. His numbers aren't very good. He's had some blow up starts, and he's been part of the shakiness of the Rockies rotation. Now, another guy who was supposed to be in the rotation, Peter Lambert, who was filling Kyle Freeland's spot, who's still in the IL. Peter Lambert's been booted back to the bullpen. So, that spot is kind of in flux. High Block filled in for it yesterday. But yeah, Hudson, he's got to straighten it out because certainly there's some guys, waiting in the wings in AAA. They've got some prospects that, if he continues to struggle, I'm not sure, I don't know if they'll DFA him, but maybe they'll give somebody else a shot, especially considering where they are in the standings. But hey, on the flip side of that, the other new pitcher in town, Cal Quantrill, has been really good. His split finger has been, one of the best in baseball. Look at the baseball savant numbers on his off-speed run value. It's the 100th percentile. So he's been really effective, and he helped key them in that sweep against the Rangers. But Hudson, he's got to get figured out because, he's weighing down this rotation as of this point.
Kyle Newman, Denver Post with us. Yeah, Hudson more walks than strikeouts this year. But to your point, old friend Cal Quantrill, of course, was with the Padres, just 1 run in his last 13 1/3 innings, his last couple of starts. I saw Chris Bryant's going to begin a rehab, I think, tomorrow in AAA. He hasn't played since, early to mid-April. It's been obviously the most disappointing contract maybe or not maybe, probably in Rockies franchise history. Is there any shot Rockies fans will see Kris Bryant be Kris Bryant again?
Oh man, I don't know. We've been waiting for several years now, and it hasn't happened. It's injury after injury, and my colleague Patrick Saunders just did a great piece on him that ran yesterday in the Post, just kind of looking at his injury marred campaign with the Rockies. He's played in, like, I believe 34% of the Rockies games since he signed that mega $182 million contract a few years ago. And, in that piece, he acknowledged his back is an issue. He's got, like, arthritis in his back. And, we saw this year, he aggravated it running into the fence on a play. And then, he was hitting way below the Mendoza line, just one home run when they put him on the IL. And yeah, he's starting tomorrow in Albuquerque on his rehab assignment. Bud Black says he might be back with the big league club by later in the trip, in the road trip. But you know what, guys? Like, to a lot of Rockies fans, amid this struggle of a season, he's kind of, he's weighing it down. They fans want to see some of these young prospects come up and play, and he's taking time away from those guys. He's blocking a lot of those guys. I mean, case in point, Jordan Beck, who recently debuted, he was killing AAA pitching, former top draft pick by the Rockies. He's showing a lot of promise in left field, even though he's kind of been sluggish start at the plate offensively. Hunter Goodman, who plays outfield and first base, just like Kris Bryant does, he can hit the ball a country mile, and he still has growing pains, but there's also a lot of potential in his bat. So those are just two guys, where when Kris Bryant comes back, it's like, well, he's going to be definitely taking at bats away from those two top prospects. And in a year like this, where you're building for the future, it's kind of like, what's the point? Well, the point is, I guess he's under contract for 5 more years at $27 million a pop. So the Rockies aren't an organization that's going to DFA a guy like that. I don't think they're going to eat that money. So up in the front office, Bill Schmidt and co., I think they're definitely hoping and praying that at least Brian can get healthy and do something. I don't think he's ever going to be Kris Bryant MVP again, but can he at least be a productive, healthy contributor in the lineup? I think that's what they're hoping.
What's your view of the Padres from afar? I mean, they've made some big time trades. They're playing good baseball, even though they're only one game over 500. But it feels like, this is a team that has enough talent to make the postseason. Do you feel the same way?
I'm kind of like mystified by the Padres the last couple of years, honestly. I mean, you mentioned kind of the wheeling and dealing they've done. And then, the Dodgers are always like the big brother of the division, right?
Yeah.
But then last year, it wasn't the Padres who were the Cinderella division. It was the Diamondbacks. So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting and seeing on this team, to be honest, guys. And, they split the Rockies earlier this year at Coors, and that was kind of like a little hesitation for me in evaluating them, because I know how good the Rockies are. They're not very good. So the Padres should be, at least taking 3 or 4 from the Rockies, I think. And I think they should be winning this series if, looking at this matchup on paper. But also, I know they've got some talent. Dylan Cease, he really wowed me in his performance at Coors Field a couple weeks ago. So if they can start to put it together, I wouldn't be surprised to see this team, make the playoffs potentially as a wild card behind the Dodgers winning the division. And like you said, a game above 500 right now. They're kind of starting to play better. So we'll see if these, red hot Rockies won't derail that.
Kyle, real quick before you go, with the Nuggets, has it gone from like, well, man, what a magical season it was a year ago, but they're not going to come back from 2-0 down going to the road, to all of a sudden maybe they're like the favorite to win the NBA Finals again this year? What's the reaction of Nuggets fans in Denver over what's transpired over the last 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I would say Nuggets Nation didn't think they were out of it, even after getting beat 2 games at home and mollywopped in that second game at home. They come back, take 2 games in Minnesota, and Nuggets Nation was like, see, we never lost faith. But also, I think, to your point, this series with the Timberwolves might be their toughest test. I mean, if they get past Minnesota, I think they could, I don't want to say cakewalk to the championship, but I think they could win the remaining series in 5-6 games, maybe even sweep. I mean, I just don't see any other team on paper that could contend with them. And Minnesota's, big man trio of Gobert and Cat and the other guy, I'm forgetting his name, Naz, right? I mean, those
Naz
three, those three are the guys that you need to contain Jokic. And then also Jamal Murray had a kind of sluggish first round. He's turning it on now. We saw the half court shot at halftime to kind of take the momentum and go in game 4 there. If Jamal Murray's playing like that, if Jokic is playing like the MVP, if Aaron Gordon continues to light it up, this team's going to be really hard to beat. So if they get past the Timberwolves, I think we are looking at a repeat here in Titletown, basketball Titletown here in Denver.
Final one for me here. In an area where you have every single major sport, basketball, NHL, NFL, college right now with Dion in Colorado, we talk a lot about it here. San Diego's a baseball town. For you, what is always the biggest story? Is it Bo Nix and what the Broncos are doing all the time? Or can Colorado with Dion make its way in the top headlines? Or Jokic, the Denver Nuggets, or even the Avalanche going for another Stanley Cup? Like, for you, what is the number one thing that's the talking point in Denver, Colorado?
I think it's always going to be Broncos country, guys.
Yeah.
And, as a baseball guy, that kind of pains me to say, especially since the last 5-6 years, obviously, since the sheriff left town. Broncos have been abysmal. I'm not completely sold that they're just going to all of a sudden turn it around with Bo Nix. They got a lot of other holes to fill. If you watch their offseason, they kind of gave out a lot of contracts that said rebuild. So I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but certainly Coach Prime up at CU has kind of stolen some headlines and really kind of captured the attention out of just the state of the nation. But I would say over the last couple of years, with the Avs winning the Cup again, with the Nuggets, how good they've been, it's been Avs and Nuggets country here. And obviously Broncos still dominating headlines in the fall, but it's Avs and Nuggets fever. And then the Rockies are like, the ugly
Stepchild. Yeah.
Which, like Coors Field, of course, is like a beacon in Lodo, just like Petco Park is over there in San Diego, and the gas lamp district surrounding it. Just an awesome vibe, an awesome park. Same thing here in Denver, Coors Field and Lodo. It's always going to be a draw, and I think fans recognize that's part of the problem. Is that the Rockies are going to draw, almost 3 million fans or about that each summer, no matter how good or bad they are. So ownership is not necessarily motivated to make big deals in the off season to really try and aggressively put together a contender. And the draft and build strategy obviously not working as of late. It worked in 17 and 18 when the Rocks made the playoffs, but last few years it's been pretty dry. So yeah, to answer your question, guys, it's Avs and Nuggets fever out here right now. And then, Broncos, just because of the Broncos always being a storyline, and Rockies, they got a ways to go to win back the populace and the enthusiasm around here.
Yeah, not exactly shocking with their, at 1.8 and 28 start this year. Kyle, we always appreciate it. We hope to connect again at some point later on this summer when the Padres and Rockies meet again. But thanks for doing it as always.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, good stuff. Jim's back page next. All right, Jim's back page is next. Ronald McDonald House Charity San Diego. Proceeds stay in San Diego, directly supporting our families. Funds raised during Red Shoe Day support lodging, meals, emotional support, and family day services provided by the house at no cost to families. Our iHeart team for Red Shoe Day will be collecting donations at the intersection of Balboa Ave and Ruffin Road, Wednesday, May 22nd, 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Let's get to this.
So I've never been here before because one, I probably would just like die from sneezing to death because
Okay.
I get like pollen.
The Rose Field.
The Carlsbad.
Oh, you've never been there?
I've never been there.
You need to get out.
Carlsbad flower field.
You would die there. They literally they
Yeah.
would bring the ambulances. You would just keel over.
I would go in there. My face would just puff up.
It'd be like that part in Wizard of Oz when they walk through the poppy fields and they
It's
just
like-
pass out.
I'm like, ah!
I've done it. It's cool.
So
It's lovely.
it looks amazing. Aaron's been a couple times.
Everyone's been.
I haven't
you.
been, but me, because I know myself and I would just
You would die.
turn into a sneezing wreck.
Yep.
Well, if you have not gone yet to the flower fields of Carlsbad and thinking to yourself, oh man, I missed my time.
Yeah.
Guess what? They are extending the viewing up until now May 19th. And they're also discounting their ticket prices from $13 down to $10.
So $10 final week.
Final
Go there
week.
now.
Yeah. So May 19th is going to be the final day. Carlsbad Ranch will welcome visitors for the annual event. Ticket markdown. Children ages 4 to 10 are $4 each. And go check it out. So if you're wondering, then it's 55 acres of just
Flowers.
and
people with terrible allergies like Jim get in free or just don't go.
No, they just don't go,
Okay.
John. The flower fields are open daily from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. After Sunday, May 19th, people will have to wait an entire year for next year's bloom season.
Go next year if you miss out.
Well, you have time, John.
Yeah, you do.
You do have some time. We didn't talk about this today because we really weren't here, and we didn't cover these teams. But AJ Smith, former Chargers GM, passed away over the weekend at 75. Marty and Darren have way more experience than we both do with AJ Smith. But that is kind of,
sad news.
It's sad news. And if you are a Charger fan or were a Charger fan, you definitely know who AJ Smith is.
No doubt.
And so the passing of AJ Smith is one of those things that if you're a Charger fan, you kind of hits you a little bit there.
100%.
So
There were some good teams in there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of controversy there.
And controversy.
Yes. I know Marty said that he was one of the most difficult people to cover in her time here in San Diego. This is a great idea for a wedding, John.
Well, you're getting married.
I know I am. Wedding prop bets.
Oh, I love this.
Okay.
Like, will they stay married?
Kinda. Jack Settleman, CEO,
over under on how long your vows are going to be.
CEO and founder of Snapback Sports.
Okay.
Had his wedding prop bets sponsored by Underdog Fantasy.
Okay.
Here are some things that he put and gave to all of his guests at his wedding. It's very smart. Wedding prop bets must fill out online. Winner will receive $1,000 announced at Sunday's brunch.
Wow.
I love this idea, and I wish I thought of it sooner. Pick'em bets, John.
Yeah.
Here we go. How many times will Aaron publicly cry? I'm just replacing her name with Aaron.
I mean, I put the over under 1.5.
6 or more times, or 5 or fewer times?
Oh, Aaron? I'll take
the over.
Lower than 6. 6 different times?
I'll take the over.
I'll go lower.
Okay. Will Jim cry when Aaron walks down the aisle? Yes or no?
I'll say no.
No.
Will Patrick, my best man, spill something on his tuxedo? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Will Claire, the maid of honor, be required to use any skills that she's learned in year 1 of med school? I don't know what that means.
Like
I don't know. This is just specifically for
yeah.
And then you have odds bets, first dance song, and there's odds for your first
like
dance,
plus 10,000 or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is
it's pretty
amazing.
genius.
It's pretty genius.
Can you copy that?
I wish I could.
Time?
I don't have time. No, we are.
What's the odds that Fly Eagle Fly is your first dance song?
That's amazing.
Plus $1 billion.
that would pay off pretty big.
Plus $1 billion. I know what the first dance song is.
And it's not
Fly
that.
Eagles Fly? It's not that.
Okay.
No. John, final one for you. Do you know energy drinks are showing damaging effects on young adults? Studies show, especially Celsius.
Does it say that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the damage?
Life expectancy, and energy drinks can just zap your energy and cause sleep efficiency effects.
I think I'm. Now that you say that, are you serious?
Yeah, it hurts your sleep. You won't get good sleep if you drink.
I'm gonna cold turkey.
Get a little ouchy.
I knew they're pretty addicting. To be honest,
they can stay awake longer, and you don't get that full REM sleep that the body needs.
I'm done. All right, if you missed anything today, SportsSD.com, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.